Okay, cool. So we are here with, I'm going to say Nikolai T, because I'm not going to mispronounce your last name. So if you wouldn't mind pronouncing it for us, I would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Frank, and hello to everybody out there. My name is Okin, or also I'm known as Nikolai Shongarero. So the TJ you kind of pronounce like a CH, but it's a bit. Anyway, so that's my name, Nikolai Shongarero. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And so the name Okin, I'm assuming it's a sort of, where did that come from?
Well, yeah. So before I fell down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, I've always been a poet, a written poet, and then also became a performance poet, a spoken word poet, and Oaken basically stands for Ordinary Kids Instilling Notoriety, right? And why I came up with Oaken was because somebody we know, Slick, back when we were younger. I'm part of a hip hop poetry group called Black Vulcanite
Hmm.
that came
Oh,
out of
I've, I
Namibia.
have, I have your, I listen to your EP all the time.
Wait, which one?
Do you know, what's his name? Bernard. I can't think of it. What's the lyrics? Uh, Get it said that I was righteous. Da, da, da. It was a five
Oh, I
song
hope they're right.
EP. Yeah, I hope you're right. Yeah. I listened to that. I swear, I
Oh,
didn't know
bless
you
your
were a
soul.
part of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm the poet from Black. So Black Vulcanite, it's a weird
Oh,
group. Basically, we're three members. So you got Mark Mushiva, and you
yeah,
have Elaine Valet, who is also known as Ali that dude, and
yeah.
then you have Oaken, who's me. So I'm the poet that you
Wow.
hear at the end of I hope they're right. I think
Whoa.
isn't that the one
Wow.
where I do the my best poems are the ones I'm not ready to write. I think it's that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if you do the voiceover in the beginning of one of them talking about. I think it was people in New York City how we've sort
No,
of.
no, I don't do that voiceover. That's not
Okay,
me. But
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great song. I love that one too. That's from I think Fallen Sun or one of those tracks. Yeah, so
Okay.
that EP was called Remember the Future, right? RTF. That's what we
Wow.
called that
Yep.
one.
Yep. And
Yeah. So
I had that before streaming was a thing, so I actually had the MP3s sent to me, which is funny.
I want to see if I still have one of them. No, I don't. I don't. I have the second the album, the studio album. I have that one.
Oh
So
wow.
I don't know. Maybe we should do an introduction because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like we just let people jump in here at the end or
Yeah.
middle of
Yeah.
our
Yeah. Yeah.
convo.
Yeah, that's all
Um,
right. Yeah. So let's go back. So let's start now. So please tell us a little bit about what you do in Namibia more broadly, if you'd like, but particularly with Bitcoin. And then you mentioned how you fell down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. And my first, question is, what brought you down that rabbit hole? When did you fall down that rabbit hole? So let's start with what you do regarding Bitcoin in Namibia.
all right, cool. So I guess let's reverse that and let's just start with how I fell into it because then we come
Sure.
to where I am today. So yeah, I fell in. Basically, we'll talk about the art stuff a bit more, of course. But around 2012, when we recorded "Remember the Future" and that "I Hope They Right" song, one of the producers that we were working with was Becoming Full, right? And Becoming Full evidently is also the person that in 2012 was like, "Hey, Oaken, and you and like the rest of the members for BV, like you guys should look into this Bitcoin thing. I'm busy mining it, and like this is going to be the future." And I was like, "You guys do whatever you want to do. I got other stuff I'm busy with, right? I don't. We're trying to sign a record deal, baby. I'm not caring about Bitcoin." And then 2016, I end up in China around August. We released Black Colonialist, which is our studio album. We released that in 2016 August, roughly about I think the 12th or somewhere around there. And then I left to China, right? And I went to go do my MBA in China. I was there for 2 years. So while everybody was talking about blockchain technology 2016, 2017, I'm literally smack dab in Beijing. And guys are like, yo, let's go to this event. And I'm like, nope, 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 nope. I'm here to do an MBA and talk to girls I might never see ever again in my life. Like, I'm not here to go do some extra stuff with you guys. So yeah, came back 2018, also around Augustish, July, August, and my brother was in Dubai, and because he does commodities and stuff, right? So he deals with a lot of like gold people and whatever. So I'm like, okay, cool. I needed to send him money because the fees for swiping your card internationally are ridiculous, right? So he's like, look, just send me with I'll send money to you, you withdraw it, and then you send me, a certain amount so that I don't have to withdraw every day. I was like, cool, send it to you via Western Union. And then at some point, Western Union fees were just killing me. Like they were hurting them, and the fees just to print out the documentation, my ID, his ID, all of that stuff. The 6 month bank statements, all of it. Like every time you do this, it becomes taxing. So I was like, you know what? I complained on Twitter, and Becoming Full replied to the tweet, and he was like, bro, I told you, Bitcoin, just send it to your brother in Bitcoin. I was like, you know what? I'm going to listen to you this time. Let me give you a call. Let's talk about it. Walk me through how I do this process. And he was gracious enough to sit me down for half an hour over the phone. I think it was even a Saturday or something. And he like walked me through how I can purchase Bitcoin, and then what I can use just instantaneously that even he uses. Told my brother to download the same one. I bought the Bitcoin into my wallet. I sent it straight through to my brother. And my brother was like, how the hell did you get that right in like 15 minutes? And I'm like, I don't know. Okay, because the thing arrived, evidently, it didn't take an hour or whatever. It took like 15 minutes and it was in his wallet. And the first confirmation was in. And I was like, what just happened? I don't know. It's like, did you get all of the money I sent you? He's like, yeah, it shows that he went to a broker in Dubai. He sold these Bitcoin, just changed it into AED. And we were like, wait a minute. I was like, okay, I'm going to go find out what's going on. And that's how I started falling down the rabbit hole. Fast forward from, well, wait, do you have any questions? Because I will keep
No,
talking.
I love it because I think people talk a lot about how the remittance purpose of Bitcoin is one of the
Yeah,
biggest purposes, but not a lot of people I think have a personal story like that, at least that I've spoken with, who are like, no, I literally was trying to send a remittance and Bitcoin made it easier for me. So it's
correct.
actually really good to hear that with your, with your
Yeah,
story
I always
attached
tell
to it.
people, for me, it started like Bitcoin didn't start as an investment vehicle or something that I was speculating on. For me, it was a use case. So that's why I'm like, the use cases matter because that's how I got in. I didn't care that people were talking about technology. I got in because I had a use case that needed to be solved, and Bitcoin was the solution, right? So for me, it's always yeah, use cases, right? And then from there, I decided, what else can we do? So then COVID hit, right? Boom. So I call myself class of 2019 of Bitcoin because that's when I really started paying attention. But yeah, effectively when COVID hit in 2020 April, we went into lockdown in Namibia. I think it was about April. And my thing was, so at the time I owned a consumer insights and marketing research company, right? So I got a lot of clients like in South Africa that were like, look, we want to do branding for our Namibian clients to feel more inclusive and more included in the message, but we need to know what those clients see about our current messages and our branding and all of that. So a couple of companies hired me to do that work, right? And I was like, cool. We did this, got people paid, and that was my thing was I want to make sure every respondent gets something in their pocket. They get value. I didn't know about it then, but basically value for value, right? And then we went forward, and I was like, okay, COVID hit. What can I do? I know a lot of creatives around the world. Basically, what you're doing, but in a very different thing. So I was like, all the artists, the rappers, the producers, singers, the graphic designers, anybody that I knew as a creative in any sphere of it, I was like, let's talk. Comedians, everybody. I was like, let's talk. Let's. If you designed a clothing label, I was like, let's do it, but let's do it in a podcast style, and we put it out on Instagram for free, like Instagram lives. We just upload that and we put them up as reels or whatever. And yeah, started that in 2019, and it started really picking up. And I was like, okay, cool. 20 halfway through season one, I was like, how do we monetize this thing, right? Like, how do I make money? Because I need to make money. I got the equipment. Like right now, I'm talking off of the equipment that I started that podcast with, right? So I was, because this I already had this equipment in China. When I went there, I'm an artist, so I bought myself 2 sets of microphones, everything. Like I have, so that I could always record. And when I came home, I just left the set and then went back to China. I got another set. But the whole point of this was to say, okay, cool. I had the equipment. Let's go. I know the people I can talk to. Let's just hit them up. Made a schedule. Let's quickly do some research. How do we use Final Cut Pro and all those things? Cool. Now we know how to edit these videos down. Let's get started. Once we did that, I was like, how do we monetize this thing? Again, Becoming Full was like, bro, Bitcoin, come on. There's this thing that you can do, but you have to own your own node, right? You have to be running your own node, and then you can monetize through Bitcoin. I was like, Easy. Let's find out how to run a node. So went down that rabbit hole, and and that's where I found podcasting index, podcasting org, podcastindex.org, sorry, and the value for value podcasting 2.0 protocol that Adam Curry them came up with. Right, fell into that, and I was like, oh, we're going with this. Breeze was my entry because Breeze Wallet actually like was one of the first podcasting 2.0 apps I heard of. I used already Red Circle that gave me my RSS feed, so I just uploaded that to Podcasting Index, and then I could tell people, yo, you can use the Breeze app to listen to it for free, or if you want to stream something to me, you can do that as well. Okay, I'm gonna stop there before we continue.
No, I love how organic the whole process has been for you. It's not just like, oh, you can make a lot of money off of Bitcoin and then you learned all this stuff. You learned it as you needed it. And that, I think that there's no right or wrong way to get into this stuff, but I find it fascinating because I don't, that's not often, usually it's the sort of people come for the greed and stay for the revolution, all this other stuff that comes with it. You know, there's open network for remittance
All right.
payments
Yeah.
and streaming sats for podcasts, all this other stuff that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
But you sort of found it the opposite way, which is super fascinating.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So my follow-up question to that original question I asked you was sort of, were you originally looked at when you started creating your own platform to now teach people about it, consult people, you know, regarding Bitcoin and all of this stuff? Were you at first looked at as like a bit of like the town crazy person or something like that? Because it's one thing to use it sort of in private. Now it's another thing to say like, I want to teach, I have this MBA from China, but I'm going to dedicate my life to teaching the world about magic internet money. Like that's where that's where I'm at. So did you go through that at all? What was that process like?
Well, for me, the thing was, I think I still, till today, I still think I use a lot of the skills that I learned while doing that MBA in China and doing my honors degree as well that I did through the University of Greenwich. But I think ultimately for me, Bitcoin allowed my inner child to come out and play and literally be like, look, there's so many opportunities, and it's weird to say, but because of the isolation of COVID, I was kind of forced to be like, let's find innovative ways to do things. I mean, look, I was a Brave, like you know the Brave browser, right? And they have the basic attention token. Now, what happens with that browser? I still use that browser till today. Is you get paid for every ad that you see. Okay, and I this time remember I'm into Bitcoin, but like that meme says, you start at Bitcoin, then you go shitcoiner, then you become crypto, you know, in the middle, and then you become Bitcoin only, right? So now I'm at Bitcoin only, but during that shitcoiner stage, I was like, let's trade Solana for what? Let's Binance is my buddy, was my friend, and like I was out here so Brave. When I found Brave, I was like, okay, wait, this is a privacy browser, firstly, so I'm never gonna see ads that I'm not paid to see. So whatever I'm seeing, cool. And oh my goodness, were they not lying? I literally for the last 2 years have not seen an ad on YouTube. Okay, not a single one. So I became an ambassador. Literally, they sent me gear and everything. I even have an NFT that they sent me. Okay, that shows I'm from the first Brave ambassador patch. Okay, and the whole point for me wasn't about their white paper. It was that, oh, you can pay people for them consuming content on your browser, and then they can take that and potentially flip that into Ethereum, Bitcoin, whatever they need to be able to sell it out into whatever currency they need. Okay, I was like, okay, this is a different thing, a model I've never heard of. Let's find out about it. Let's go on. The further I went, I threw an event. And the whole point of this that I'm trying to say is I needed to show people instead of tell them. And the reason was Bitcoin was already out there. People got scammed. Like and they're thinking, oh no, Bitcoin's a scam. I'm like, no, hold on. You paid a scammer. That had nothing to do with Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't have any marketing team. It's got no cheerleaders. It has no leaders. So for you, what you did was you decided, I'm going to give this person money and believe they're the one that's how I get my Bitcoin. And everything they say is true. Every number they show me is true. Because that's how we were brought up. That's what we know as the norm, right? And the problem was, I was like, okay, cool. I'm looking at this. I'm like, through an event. I'm like, I'm going to tell people how I'm getting paid by your podcasting. Because my point was, I'm already in podcasting 2.0. So I'm getting paid in Bitcoin now. I was on Sphinx when Sphinx was also really starting up the Sphinx app. And I was like, okay, people have to pay you for the messages. Oh, this is amazing. This is going to be the future, right? So I was like, okay, I'm less and less on the shitcoins now. Now everybody's looking at me like, okay, Okin, how are you making money? Like, how is this happening? Because I'm sitting at bars and I have a Telegram bot and it's just going off and it's going off and it's just showing Bitcoin streaming, like 9 sets, 3 sets, 20 sets, as people are loving like listening to the content. And I'm like, let me give you some of the Bitcoin because you were part of like I interviewed one of the people, and they're like, okay, let's find out more about this. So then I was like, okay, let's throw an event. I'm gonna tell you guys how I earned Bitcoin, right? Different things, what. And again, at the point in time, I'm still a little bit of a shitcoiner. I got becoming full on this stage, right? People paid. I'm talking about financial advisors, like high-ranking bank officials, lawyers. There was, I was a bit shocked. I was like, okay, let's see what happens. And becoming false then is like, listen, I'm gonna tell you guys, stay away from the shit coins. I also dabbled a little bit in the beginning and I lost money, so I'm trying to help you, but do what you want. Go pay your school fees. And then as we went along, because that's what we call it, is school fees. Let's be honest, you got to pay your school fees to learn the lesson. And then as we went along, and I'm like, okay, I'm showing these people, I'm like, let me show you, okay, in the open how I do it on Instagram, on Twitter. I think at the time I was still on Facebook. This was years ago. Wherever I am, I even had WhatsApp at the time. Let me show you the proof of work. Let me show you how I'm getting paid. Let me show you the QR code in the bottom left of my screen. That's a Zebedee QR code, and you can literally pay while you're listening to me, right? And all of that. Let me show you, because you can do the exact same thing that I'm doing. And as we started to show people and throw events, then people were like, okay, he's maybe not crazy. I saw him buy a beer with it, right? Because at that first event, the place I threw it at is one of my favorite bars, one of my favorite pubs, right? So I'm like, listen, guys, man, what? Talking about Bitcoin. They're like, okay, we're tired of listening to you talk about Bitcoin. Just throw a damn event or something. I'm like, okay, cool. Can I get the establishment? They're like, yes. So that event that we threw, it's called the TPOC event. The Pursuit of Knowledge is what TPOC stands for. Right. So why we did the TPOC event the way we did it, the first initial one, and I was like, I had to get a sponsor because I needed money for. I'll show you. Basically, let's say a ticket is 300 Namibian dollars, right, or 300 rand for a ticket to get in. If you buy your ticket, on your ticket stub, it shows you two different QR codes. At the time, we were still telling people about Moon Wallet and to use Moon Wallet. So there are two QR codes, one for your Android phones, one for your iPhones, right? You just scan the QR code and you download your wallet. Once you come to, and it also came with a little pamphlet that told you exactly how you can write down your words, don't give it to anybody, all the instructions you needed to secure your seed phrase and everything with your Moon Wallet. Now, moving forward, when they came to the gate, I asked them, okay, did you guys already download your wallet? They're like, yes, yes, yes. Okay, give me your ticket stub. Cool. Here's half of your ticket money back in Bitcoin. I tell them, open your wallet. Say receive, say 150. Boom. There's half your ticket money back. Enjoy the event. Right? So already, just by buying a ticket, they already had half their money in Bitcoin. They already got Bitcoin in their hand. So it's not even to ask me, how do I get my Bitcoin? You already got some with you right now. Okay? You already have Bitcoin in your hand. Once you walk in the door, you haven't even gotten a beer yet. Like, here's your welcome drink. Here's some Bitcoin. Please have a seat. Enjoy the music. Right? The DJ had a QR code right in front of the DJ box. You can tip the DJ if you want. Right? So we started up this thing. Then what I did was I spoke to the people at the establishment and was like, please, let's just allow the people to buy a beer or a burger, right? For Bitcoin, if they want to, just if they want to, and I show them how to get a Blue Wallet, and at the time, and Breeze Wallet, right, and show them how to move from Breeze into Blue Wallet because cool, they're all good to go. Now we do the events. I don't really know how everybody sees success. I was like, okay, there were people there. For me, that's a success. There were people. We're talking about Bitcoin in Namibia. So there were like 20 people there. I was like, oh, yes, success. Okay, we got a successful event. I come back on the Monday to come get the cash, right? That was left over, whatever that I had to come pick up. The owners are like, Okin, we loved it. We loved it. Okay, tell us how we do this. I was like, all right, cool. Let's do this. What's the slowest day of your week? They said Thursday. I said, all right. What's the cheapest stuff on your menu? I said, beer and burger. Cool. Let's make a special. Beer and burger special every Thursday for Bitcoin. You pay in Bitcoin, right? And this is a fixed amount that we do. And I will sit here from lunchtime till when you guys close. I'll answer any freaking questions about Bitcoin that these people have. But I'm gonna answer them the way I answer them. And they were like, okay, because I'm a bit toxic. So they're like, all right, cool. And we did that for about a month, about 2-3 months. We had every Thursday we had a Bitcoin burgers and beers. It was what we call the triple Bs. Bitcoin burgers and beers every Thursday at Wolf Shack. And yeah, that's how we started it off, and then that's how people became more accepting, I guess, or seeing, oh wait, Okin's not lying. He this other guy was talking about, because that's the initial arguments were, yeah, you're lying with these scam things of yours. You're just trying to get old people's money. I was like, really? How much is your bill? How much did you have to drink? Okay, cool. I'll pay for your drinks in Bitcoin right now. What do you mean? I'm like, yo, how much is the gas bill? Okay, cool. Show me. I'll pay it in Bitcoin. Scan it. Boom, your bill's been paid. They're like, oh my goodness, please tell me how you did that. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about more stuff now. Let's show proof of work here. And that's how we started getting to where we are as EasySats. I'll stop there because I know you have another question.
No, so that, first of all, I love the enthusiasm. And I love one of the things I talk a lot about with people is sort of what has Bitcoin catalyzed within you. Has it catalyzed you to learn more, to teach others, to and then also sometimes it for you, I think it catalyzed a sort of an entrepreneurial spirit that you seem to have, but it really brought it to life. You put it in terms of saying like it made me very childlike. You sort of wanted to explore, and I think that the people who really get it, who I think you call it on your website, have that aha moment. That's sort of what it becomes for them. And then obviously you become a maniac and you can't stop talking about it and blah, blah, blah. But that proof of work component is really important. Having that ability to, let me show you how this thing works, so that it's not just like some scam speculative asset that you're hearing about on the news and only crazy people are into it and blah, blah, blah. So I think all that stuff is great. I appreciate it. And I appreciate, like I said, the enthusiasm with which you tell these stories. It's great. So, um, one of the things, actually, let me come back to that. So you just brought up EasySats, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things that you're working on right now. So can you tell people what EasySats is, and can you also touch on how I think you did a deal with Azteco, and explain what Azteco is?
Great question. So EasySats is basically also a solution to a problem, right? So I was sitting around, and so there's two Bitcoin, I guess you can call them companies. I wouldn't call them that. They're basically departments within my company. So Okin Trading Enterprises is my company, and then within that, I just like as a marketing department, I have EasySats. As a research department, I have BTC Mining Namibia, right, to help people get miners. So with EasySats, what we did was we're like, okay, look, the problem is when we buy on Binance, right? The minimum withdrawal amount for a Namibian. Now, I'm just gonna. Sorry, Frank. Whereabouts are you, if you don't mind me asking, just so I know what.
I'm in New York City. I'm in the United States.
Okay, so we're doing US dollars. So, all right, cool.
Yep.
So 300 Namibian dollars, all right, is roughly 16 US, right? That's the withdrawal fee to just get your Bitcoin off of Binance. Now, my thing is, if you're only being paid 2,000 Namibian dollars is your income for the month, right? 300 Namibian dollars as your withdrawal fee. Forget still buying the Bitcoin. So you're taking a knock. So if you buy 500, you're only getting out with 200 with the Bitcoin. That nobody likes that thought. Okay, right? Firstly, so I was like, okay, how does the person pumping gas, right? Your gardener, the lady that cleans your house, how do they effectively consistently buy Bitcoin if they understand it, right? But they want to get it. How do they get it? Right? They might not be able to have the means like mining and all that. So how do they get their Bitcoin? So then I started scouring the internet, and I was like, we're gonna find a way. It's gotta be. And I found Azteco, and I was like, there's no way this thing actually already exists. And I was like, cool. How do we become a vendor? How do we do this? Contacted Azteco. They were like, okay, this is what you need to do. Like, send us what we need to make sure you're not a criminal, firstly, because we can't be dealing with you people if you're criminals. And nobody can be a criminal here. And I was like, cool, 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 cool. Here's my company documents. What else? What do you need, bro? I don't care what you need from me. Let me know. So they were very gracious to walk me through the process and everything. And so yeah, I got somebody that was like, yo, Okin, I'm listening to what you're saying about this Bitcoin thing. I've sat down with you. This is the same person that sponsored the actual first TPOC event, and gave through that cash. And he owns a couple of hospitals. And so when he gave me that cash, I gave him back his money. I was like, what we didn't, some people didn't show up, and I bought too much Bitcoin. Here is your Bitcoin, sir. Okay, this is yours. And he was like, oh my God, I got Bitcoin. So he was excited. So when I kept talking to him over time, and he was like, listen, how much money do you need to get started? And I told him, and I was like, look, I don't need more. I just need this. I can make this work. And I was like, cool. Come to me on Monday. We'll sit down. I'll talk to my bankers. Well, what? Monday came in, the agreement. We had an agreement, everything. And it was like, I don't want the money back. I want you to go do it. I was like, oh, wait a minute. He's like, no, no, no. But you have to prove you can do this. Otherwise, I want my money back. Cool. That was a year ago. right? About May 13th, I think, or somewhere around there. That's when we had that mess.
That's my birthday. Lucky day
Ah, you see, and my mom's
there.
birthday is May 17th,
Oh,
mind you.
cool.
And you're gonna find
Nice.
a little tidbit before I go on. Yours, the song you were talking about, I hope they're right, was
Yep.
recorded on May 17th, my mother's
Get
birthday,
out of here.
2012.
Okay.
That's when we recorded that song. So yeah,
Nice.
that's just a little tidbit there. But yeah,
Love it.
so once we hit the ground running, when I had meetings, it was at places that accepted Bitcoin, like Smoky, like Wolf Shack. Wolf Shack was the only one at the time. So all my meetings were at Wolf Shack, right? And I'm showing people here, look, we're doing it. I'm buying burgers. I'm doing this. I'm even, for the people I'm having the meeting with, I'm buying the burgers and beers. Then I got a second place on board. They have paintball, everything, Smoky Mare, right? And the owner was like, what do you mean? Wait. So I can become like a sub vendor of yours, and I can like help people get Bitcoin, and I can accept Bitcoin. Okay, let's do this. And I'm like, cool. So he was immediately like, at this time, Wolf Shack had just said, okay, everything on our menu you can take for Bitcoin, right? Smoky Mare was like, okay, everything, including paintball, biltong, everything, steaks, everything you can pay Bitcoin to do, right? In between this time, the Central Bank of Namibia and the financial investigative people booked a table at the Wolf Shack for 15 people, right? And they all came there and they were like, yeah. And I was even on Twitter. I was literally like, oh my God, what am I gonna say to these people tomorrow? Because they were like, is that Okin guy gonna be there tomorrow? It's Thursday. We want to book a table for 15 of us and we want to come have a conversation. So I was like, all
Can
right,
I ask
cool.
you a half
Yeah.
joking question real quick? Were you scared at all?
I was shitting bricks, bro.
Yeah.
I was shitting bricks. I was like, oh my goodness, the central bank's coming through. What's up over here now? So yeah, and they had high ranking people there too from the central banks. I was like, okay,
Okay.
this could be and Wolf Shack's people are looking at me like, what did you let us do? Are we in trouble? I'm like,
That's
no, you're not in trouble. Look, here's the directives. It all says it. It's legal. We like, it's not illegal. We're good, bro. It's not
Yep.
legal to enter, but it's not illegal to use it or accept it. We're good. All right. So they come through and they sit there, literally a table of 15, and I'm like, oh, let me take the shooter real quick. Like, I'm gonna have to. And I
Yep.
stand there and they're all like, yeah, show us how we can buy the burgers and beers. I want to buy 2 burgers. And I'm like, okay, cool. Wait. What wallet are you using? No, it's not working. I'm like, sir, that's a Coinbase wallet. How many of you guys are sitting in your Coinbase wallets? And like 2/3 put up their hands. I'm like, no, listen to me. You can't do it from an exchange account. And they're like, why not? It's a Bitcoin wallet. And I'm like, all right, let me explain to you the difference between a self-custodial and a custodialship, right? You guys are bankers, but I'll explain it to you in Bitcoin terms. And they were like, oh, okay, we didn't know that this was a custodial wallet. I'm like, of course, because nobody told you and you just thought exchanges work the other. But anyway, gave them all that, told them, here's how you download Moon. This is what you can do with. Some of them had like another wallet. There's something with an E in it. I can't remember his name. But I was like, okay, it works. It's an Exodus or something. I can't remember. The wallet worked. And I was like, okay, you can do it from there. And as we're moving through it, they literally spent like over 6,000 Namibian dollars on just burgers and beers. Okay, and that's like in US terms. And remember, it's not expensive. Like a burger, first let me tell you, a burger is like 1 US, 1.07. 1.07 for a 500 milliliter draft, right? Okay. And then a burger, I think at Wolf Shack at the time was about $50. It's like 270, two US 70, right? For a burger. And it comes with chips, I think, at the same time, right? A really great burger. Now, so when what we're talking about when we say they spent $6,000, and this is just on burgers and beers, they spent like 323 US on burgers and beers, right? And this was just to see if they could spend it in Bitcoin, how they could spend their Bitcoin, taking takeaways for home. They're like, oh, I'm gonna buy more burgers with my Bitcoin that I didn't know what I could do with this thing. And for me, again, boom, use case. What you're seeing is how you can spend your Bitcoin. People are telling you this cannot purchase anything, you can't do anything with it, just magic internet money. But now here's a place in Namibia you can buy your burgers and beers on Thursdays with Bitcoin.
Yep. You made it real for them. That's yeah.
Yeah, and I think I
That's
don't think they were really there to try and catch anybody out. I think they were really there to explore how to spend their Bitcoin and to see if I was imposing a custodialship onto, like, did Wolf Shack have their own wallet or were they using Okin's wallet? You know what I'm saying? So that Okin's
mm,
actually getting the Bitcoin and not them. Like they were trying to see, am I trying to scam people or what's going on here? Right? And then in the
interesting.
process they learned something about Bitcoin.
Huh. And I believe I believe one of the members of the Namibian Central Bank went to El Salvador about a year and a half ago when El Salvador had the people from mostly, I don't like the term, it's better than third world, but global south. A lot of people from central banks and governments, from ministries of finance from Africa, Latin America, Southeast Asia
Mhm.
went. And for the record, just want to put it out there, about a year and a half ago, I called Patrick Sam and talked to him about how difficult it would be to get Namibia to put Bitcoin on the central bank's balance sheet. And he said, probably pretty difficult. I said, all right, fair enough.
I mean, it's not going to be easy, but it's not impossible.
No, I think it's still, you're still gonna have to see a few more countries come out. I think there's going to then have to be some sort of solidarity, or maybe some sort of discussion behind the scenes. Maybe, I don't know, maybe different countries sort of arrange it to announce that they've done so. But I don't know. It's also might be still too early for something like that. But I want to rewind to one point that you made earlier. You said, I don't want something like Binance taking whatever, a third of whatever, if you're putting in 300 Namibian Rand and then you can only pull out, 200 worth of Bitcoin. Obviously that's a huge loss for someone who maybe, like you said, is a gardener, a housekeeper, maybe not a high wage earner or something along those lines. But I had another question with you about this. I used to work in I lived and worked in a village in Ghana for a little while. um, and my students there, or the people that I worked with there, I was there working at a school and developing a school. They're really they're very entrepreneurial. They're constantly looking for new ways to
Mhm.
expand, you know, to export their goods to different places. A lot of them own farms there and stuff like that. And I've thought about teaching them about Bitcoin and Lightning Network, even if just for using payments, they can transfer the Bitcoin back to Ghanaian CDs or whatever they'd like to transfer it
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
afterwards. But my question to you is, okay, so you get this gardener, or like you said, housekeeper, someone who maybe is not a high earner, and now they own a little bit of Bitcoin.
Mhm.
How do you brace them for the volatility that is to come? Yes, we know over a long enough time frame, the price of Bitcoin tends to move up and to the right, in terms of fiat. But
Mhm.
ranking it by fiat. But do you find that people get nervous about the volatility in the short term?
Well, I find that people trying to make money in the space get nervous. A lot
Okay.
of people see, so again, it's the difference of how people enter the space and how
Yep.
you also bring the space to people. So I don't talk to people about trading at all, not at all.
Okay.
I don't even talk to them about the price of Bitcoin. When I
Got you.
initially come to people, I tell them, okay, I have not spent Namibian dollars, okay, in a year. Not
Oh wow.
fiat at all in a year.
Wow.
No, no, no. For us, but I have on certain things. I'm talking about one specific thing for
Okay.
my mobile airtime, right? For the airtime of my phone. Now you've been to
Okay.
Namibia, so you know we
Yeah.
have like the packages that you get for a week, like the Aware, where you get like 2 or 3 gigabytes of data,
Yep.
500 SMSs, and 90 minutes, right? And you can buy that package, and it will last for 7 days. Okay, so you
Yep.
cost like 45 Namibian dollars or something like that. Now here we go. Yeah, I'll actually tell you how much that is in US. That's like probably like 5 US or something. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, no, it's 2.4. It's 2.4 US. So that will last you like 3 gigabytes of data, 500 SMSs, and about 90 minutes worth of call time for a whole 7 days. Okay, that's what you can get. Now, what I do is I play games on my phone because remember I came into Bitcoin with a different type of thing, and I was like, how can if I can earn during COVID, I can show people. One of the ways was through Zebedee, and Zebedee is a started off as a wallet, but now it's a platform that basically allows you to monetize or get games that you can or play games that will pay you in Bitcoin, right? Whether it's part of the marketing budget of the games themselves or they have in-game ads, and those ads, if you watch the ad fully, that's how you get paid in Bitcoin. So basically, the ad companies are paying you to watch the ads. Full out. It's weird, like, but it works. The method works, right? So I would play games, read articles from what was the Carrot app back in the day. Now it's called the Bitcoin Magazine app. All of these different ways that I earn, writing things on Stacker News and all of that, and I'd earn enough Bitcoin weekly to pay for that package of the 3 gigabytes with the data and everything, right? So it's now been a year that I actually haven't spent Namibian dollars to buy my weekly airtime or be on the internet and everything that I do. So then what I told people was, okay, cool. Firstly, you can do this and you can just be like me. just no buying Bitcoin. You can, I mean, I do buy Bitcoin, but you don't have to buy it. You can earn it and then spend it somewhere. And then what I told them was, okay, now you have places like Wolf Shack and Smoky Mare that accept Bitcoin. Now, if you don't need that 15 Namibian dollars on airtime because you work in a company that maybe gives you a cell phone allowance or whatever, you now have an additional 15 Namibian dollars. You can go to the bar, you can get some beer, you can get some burgers with what you've earned in Bitcoin. Now, here's another kicker for you. If you have the Smiles app, the one that it's a step counter that pays you in Bitcoin. I think it's a maximum of like 26 satoshis that it pays you a maximum of per day. But you can also play games like chess games and stuff to earn more Bitcoin through it, right? Now, this app for me makes perfect sense for a place like Namibia where people walk a lot, right? People walk to go get a cab. And let's say you're at work and you work in a restaurant, you're walking around the whole time. So you can very quickly every day get your 26 satoshis. Now, once you're earning in a way like this, and you have something like Bitrefill where you can purchase airtime, right? You can buy in Namibia. And there's only two things you can right now that I would say you could buy in Namibia is airtime, mobile airtime from MTC and TN Mobile. So you buy your airtime through there. That's how I buy my airtime, right? So here's the kicker. Now, if you're sitting next to your friend and your friend's like, buddy, I need to walk to the store real quick. I need to go buy some airtime. You're like, oh, how much airtime you need? Like, nah, I just want to go buy like $10. Like, all right, give me $13 and I'll buy it for you in Bitcoin right now. Now, you earned that Bitcoin. You didn't spend money to get that Bitcoin, right? But now it's sitting there. Now you've earned physical fiat for Bitcoin you earned. You still haven't spent any money, but you've earned fiat now. Now you can decide what you want to do with that fiat. You want to buy more Bitcoin? You want to spend it on something? That's up to you. But now you've entrepreneurially just made yourself some cash or a way to bring cash inflow into you without spending any money beyond your normal airtime, which you earned while playing games. And so it becomes a self-fulfilling cycle where you don't have to come out of pocket anymore for something. And something's coming back into your pocket. So now when you approach people with that method of Bitcoin, they're not talking, they're not thinking about volatility. They're like, wait. Okay, let me find out what Bitcoin is. Cool. You can learn about the volatility and because it's there, you're gonna know. It's not like something you can miss. It's there. The price, you're gonna be like, oh, the pricing is yes, learn why, learn everything. But it's the entry isn't, oh my goodness, I'm gonna get rich with this. No, it's hey, I can solve a problem for me real quick. I don't have to sit around thinking, oh, how can I rob somebody to buy a loaf of bread? Why? Because if the cooker shop around or the township shop or whatever shop, even the supermarket accepts Bitcoin, that means I can now take that 15 Namibian dollars. A loaf of bread is about 13 to 14 Namibian dollars. That means I can buy 2 to 3 loaves of bread in a week. I just fed myself using Bitcoin that I earned. That is mind blowing. That's my, and you can do that today. Not a future promise. No. This is something you can do today. All you need to do is you need to know how to earn the Bitcoin and you need to tell the shop why they should accept the Bitcoin. Once you get over that hurdle, Bob's your uncle.
My other question, this is from more of a practical sense. So for the shops that own it, what is, and I don't know if I even should bring this up, but like, what does taxation then look like? I don't know how things work. If they're accepting something in a different currency, do they have to market based on the fiat currency or something like that, or not necessarily?
Well, currently the way that Namibian legislation is around this topic,
Yep.
I sat in a couple of meetings, or let's call them public discussions, with the central bank. Currently, you see, the thing is, when we talk about tax, right? Something has to be legal tender in order for it to like. How do you tax me in Bitcoin? Like in Namibia, we have two currencies, right? We have the Namibian dollar as a
Yep.
legal tender, and we have the South
Mm-hmm.
African rand as legal tender. So you
Mm-hmm.
can pay your taxes in South African dollars, rand or Namibian dollars, right?
Mm, yep.
In Namibia, you can't pay your taxes in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is
Right.
not accepted as legal tender. But what the governor of the central bank did say, which I give him props for,
Yep.
was he said if any institution at the end, so there was a meeting between the central banks. They had an open discussion, which I also sat in. It's like a 2 hour discussion between the Central Bank of Namibia, Central Bank of South Africa, Central Bank of Nigeria, Central Bank of
Wow.
El Salvador. I still can never remember what the other one was. I think there were about 7, 8 banks. Anyway, at
Wow.
the end of this entire discussion around CBDCs and everything that they were having in the open, the governor of the central bank said, look, if you as an establishment want to accept a virtual asset, or I think we call them no, we don't call them virtual currencies. I think we call them virtual assets, yeah. A
Virtual
virtual
asset.
asset as payment, and the customer wants to spend that as payment. That is between the two of you and has nothing to do with us as the central
Oh,
bank.
that's amazing.
Just
That's
be
amazing.
warned that we cannot assist you if anything goes wrong. So please
Mm-hmm.
be vigilant. That is basically verbatim what the man said. And I was like, yes, this is the best thing that came out of this entire thing. Thank you. Because that just means you already said it's not illegal before. Now you're
Yep.
saying if somebody wants to accept it and it's an agreement between the two people, it's like bartering. Go ahead. Like if you want to give somebody a chicken for
Right.
two whatever, you can do that, right?
Yep.
And you cannot go pay your tax in it though. So when you still, and again, Namibia is one of those countries that taxes a lot of things. Our airtime is taxed. So if I buy 10 Namibian dollars worth of airtime, I get $9.60. They already take the
Mm.
tax.
Right.
For me, it's a contentious subject, right? Because what they can do with this is basically you're taxing people that normally would avoid tax any way that they can, right? We have value added tax on everything. Now you have it on your airtime. You also kind of taxing other things, but all right, well, let's not get into that too much. But for me, what this means is that if you live in a society where whatever people are supposed to pay you, you never actually get the full value. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's say your point of sale machine. Okay, if your thing costs $100 Namibian and I swipe for it, you as the actual vendor only get like 95 or 90, whatever, because the bank still
Right.
takes a fee, right? Then you're
Mm-hmm.
also renting the machine from the bank. Here's the
Yep.
kicker: as the other side, as the payee, the Bank of Namibia released a report where they said all of the point of sale charges that were per transaction, up some of them are even $5 Namibian a transaction, right? So
Mm.
when you do the mathematics and you average it out, you're like, okay, it's about $3.90 or $3.80 or 18 cents, sorry, per transaction from all these 9 banks at a point of sale. Average out all your last 9 Bitcoin transactions and what the fees are, comes out to like
Yep.
80 cents per transaction compared to $3 something. So that savings already there for both of us, right? You get your actual
Mm.
full what it cost you, what I paid you, and my fee isn't dependent on the amount I'm sending you. It's
Yep.
dependent on what the fee is at that point in time on the mempo,
Mm.
right? So
Yeah, that's
then the structure starts changing for people. They start saying, oh, okay, firstly, not only can I accept Bitcoin, it actually saves me money to
yeah, yeah.
accept it. I'm not losing out to banks, and it saves you money as my customer. We are
Yep.
both saving in this transaction, buddy. Let's go ahead and try it out. And
Yep.
that's how I would say I do it.
And you don't think the bank feels threatened by this at all? I mean,
Oh,
I
definitely.
understand. Okay, but they're
Oh,
but at
definitely.
the same time, they're sort of. I mean, they're more than playing nice. I think they're. I mean, that's about as good as it can get. What you're
You see,
describing.
here's the kicker, right? So, the Bank of Namibia, one of the people that they consulted with to write their original directives, the 2019 2020 directives on virtual assets,
Mm.
was becoming Phil, the guy that Orange told me. Because he was the Bitcoin guy. He was the Bitcoin guy around telling everybody, yo,
Mm.
Bitcoin's the future. This is what, right? And he was like, I mean, he's busy. He's a very busy guy. He runs like computer companies and whatever. But he was like, all right, cool. Like, I'll sit down with you guys. Let's talk about it. I don't want you guys not to understand Bitcoin and go the wrong route. So I'd rather
Yep.
sit down with you as a Bitcoiner and have the conversation with you, which
Yep.
I
Yep. Yep.
commend him for fully because he had to put himself out there. They could have been like, we're going to shut you down, right?
Yeah, for real.
And what
Yeah.
did he do? He decided to be the first regulated company. He registered with the Bank of Namibia as the first Bitcoin company regulated by them.
Mm.
He's still regulated by them. So he's very much in speaking with the structures that be and the regulators, and even with parliamentarians to say, guys, look, let's make sure you have the information because we cannot fault you if you don't have the information and you end up like the Central African Republic and you become with all shit coins all of a sudden. No, if you
Yep.
don't have the right information, you can't make the informed decision. So let's
Yep.
inform you properly. Let's discuss it. Let's work it out. So the Central Bank of Namibia, I won't lie, they are very what's the word I want to use? Curious, and they're not that they support Bitcoin, but they don't oppose it. They want to find out what's going on. They're inquisitive on it, right?
Wow.
So we're at a very great point where we don't. It's not about having arguments with the central bank. It's about pushing back on things that they might not see in that context. Like
Yep.
right now, they had end of April. they had this thing where they're like, okay, by the end of April, everybody, please give in why we should or should not adopt CBDCs, right?
Yep.
And my problem was they did this with a 2 week notice for most people that hadn't even had the info to give you their pushback or acceptance of a CBDC. They don't know what it is. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna write this letter, and I wrote them like I think it was like a 10-page or 8-page letter on all the risks of CBDCs and honeypots and what and how bridges are being hacked. No, we spoke about this in that letter, and I was like, let's talk about all of the risks, because I don't know if you're looking at all the risks just because China's CBDC is working. It works because it's China. Like
Yep.
Nigeria's one's failing. Like, show me where this is working. Like, so it was to also inform them, like, look at, and not just to say it. I gave them links to things. I was like, yeah, look at the article. This is where it says like only 1% adoption of the CBDCs in Nigeria, and people are
Yep.
it is falling in adoption rate. It's a failed experiment.
Project,
And
right.
show up, because the thing is, we cannot fault people for not knowing what we don't give them the information of.
Yep.
So yeah,
100%.
that's how I would put that.
Something that's coming to mind here is a thought I'm having. I'm remembering from when I was there, and it's that Namibia, for people that don't know, is in the southwest part of Africa. It is, I think, it has a population of what, 2.5 million people.
2.7 now. We're going up.
Wow. I was going to say, all right, a lot of people having kids since I've been there. All right. So it is the second least densely populated country on Earth, from what I understand.
Correct. In Mongolia is number 1.
Okay, there you go. And so what blew my mind about being there was the sort of accessibility that you have to members of government. I remember being out at a bar and being like, oh, Frank, this is our finance minister or something. I'm like, why is this person at the bar? Like, this person should be locked away in a mansion, something. Like, you're just not going to get that same access in the United States. You're not even going to get that with local governance in Queens. You're not going to get that sort of like, I live in, the borough of Queens in New York City. So what I hadn't put together until now is that Namibia really is such an amazing case study for all. I just hadn't thought about this, and I sort of, maybe that's what my gut was telling me, like, have a conversation with someone from there, because the work that I did there was a little bit with the Ministry of Education, with UNICEF, and the work that Pat Sam does, and Patrick would always discuss it like that. He said, basically, we try things out here. Sometimes then if they work here, maybe they go to a bigger jurisdiction like South Africa or something like that. But what you're doing, these conversations, I don't think many people in the Bitcoin community really, really understand this, globally speaking. And I think it's utterly fascinating. If it's all right with you, actually, I'll mention it after, but I could pass it on to some people that I think would be really, really interesting, bigger names globally and interested. Yeah. And so I think that I'm sure you don't take it for granted, but I think it's amazing that you can go and sit down with central bankers, have a burger, have them buy Bitcoin, have them be open-minded, have them think about the potentials of this technology, even if it potentially takes some of their power away. I mean, what bureaucrats do that? Bureaucrats love to hold on to power. It's just what it is. It's the nature of it. So I really hadn't put all this together until now. Pardon the rambling a little bit, but I think it's
Frank.
it's
Just
super.
before you, I must tell you, I didn't even put that together till you just
Okay.
said it like that. Till you said it like that, I did not put it together like that, because it's true.
Okay.
Like, you can go to a football game and you can find like your minister of defense right there.
Just
You
right
can,
there.
like,
Yeah.
No, these people are accessible. You find them at the mall, bro. Like, okay, full disclosure, my mother is in government as well. So like, I do
okay.
also have
Cool.
like,
Okay.
yeah. So like, so I have always like known, but even when my mother wasn't in government, like, it's
Yep.
not like people are like you said, behind a walled garden, locked away. Nah, not in Namibia. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, the
and it's
president, you're not gonna get to the president that easy, yeah. But
so it's funny. A quick aside, and not to be whatever. So actually, I think you'll be proud of this. I was actually, when the president of Namibia last came to the United States to visit, I was in charge of putting together the music for him. So I went to the party. I had my friends come and play for him. He did. It was when he addressed the UN. I don't know if you're friends
in December.
with no, maybe it was actually the time before that. I don't think he was here again, but it was a little bit before that. But even that, I've sat in an apartment building on the Upper East Side of New York City with your president, the nicest human being, super good guy, down to earth. And that accessibility, again, is just mind blowing. And it's not even, so I spent some time in West Africa, in Ghana, And I think I met the Minister of Transportation while I was there, but that was way more of a thing. The person who introduced me to him was like, "I want you to know who you're meeting right now." Whereas in Namibia, it's like it's a totally different thing. So what I love about Namibia, and I was actually heartbroken. I think for a period of time, I think right after I left for a period of time, was it the House of Democracy or Democracy House shut down? And I think it opened back. It has opened back up since. But I did some work there with Patrick. But one of the things that I was so inspired by in the country was how active people are. And then again, how they bring these things up. The amount of meetings you have. You brought up one of these meetings with these. You guys love to have meetings, and it's amazing.
It's a problem. It's a problem.
No, no.
We have meetings about meetings, man.
Yeah. But people's voices are heard. People are acknowledged. People can cut. They're open sort of town hall style meetings. But like again, not with like some local representative, with real members of government, people who have the ability to influence policy. I've never even heard of another place like this, much less experienced it with my own two eyes and my own sort of sensation. It was truly amazing, and I just hadn't thought about how that would be such a perfect place for at least to stay open-minded to what the benefits of Bitcoin might be. That's it. Doesn't have to be full-blown adoption tomorrow, but like, hey, could we at least see how this might benefit people?
I mean, sorry to interrupt you, Frank. Just
no,
to say
please,
one piece that a lot of people forget, and maybe it's a lot easier or not as daunting for us to see it as Namibians because we're so few, is everybody's a person. That politician is still a person, right? Like a lot of these people that I speak to, like I had a conversation at so when women have like the baby shower thing, we have one for the guys, right? Where what happens is I didn't know that like my friends do it like this, like some certain of my friends, they buy diapers and baby wipes for like months and months worth of supplies. And the diapers are by different stages. So like I had to buy diapers for like year 1, right? And then another guy had to buy for year 2 and another guy for or months or whatever you call them. So like they already had for the different stages, you got diapers. You don't got to worry about it. Just to make sure that when the new fathers got, the whole baby stress and thinking about you're not worrying about diapers at least and baby wipes. You got that. We sorted. You got that, right? So, and different diapers so that just in case baby's allergic to, aloe vera or something, like all of those. So while I'm at this thing, one of my, school buddies that we grew, because all of us were like at the same school, a German school that we grew up at. And the one guy now works in NamPower, which is the the national power regulator for Namibia, right? It's NamPower, right? It's the SOE from government. So now he works at NamPower. We started talking about Bitcoin mining, right? Because he's like, hey, so talk to me about how much energy Bitcoin wastes. And I'm like, nah, brother, you already have the energy. Let me talk to you. Let's have this conversation. Bitcoin don't waste no energy. You've got this energy. And then we started in, and he was like, okay, I learned a bit more. Let's go drink now. And when we stopped talking about Bitcoin, then another guy came in. He's like, yeah, but those Bitcoin things price. I'm like, nah, brother. Let's first talk about use cases when you want to talk about things to me. And then and the thing is just not always, I try not to always be the Bitcoin guy that's going out only talking about Bitcoin, but it literally comes up every time, even if I don't bring it up. So yeah, so in that, it's to say the conversations to have with people is just to go and say, look, let me write you a letter. Okay. Let me see. Let me find your email address because you can find it. This is the minister's email address. This is the deputy's. Write them the email and say, "Yo, this is the problem. Can we address this?" Okay. And if not, if you don't want to listen to me, let me go to another one that should be part of this line. And if they don't out, then I just gotta go to the newspaper and be like, "Bruh, I asked them. They said nothing. What do you guys think as the public?" Okay, let's have another conversation.
Yeah, amazing. I want to rewind a teeny bit back to what you just said about the mining, though. That was my last major question for you. I was reading on your website how you said something like your vision is, to have a miner in every home and in every municipality and every school. I love it, and I wanted to know, one, sort of how difficult it is to import them from China. I believe you import them from, and then two, what are the primary sources of power in Namibia? I know there's plenty of sunlight, there's plenty of desert, so you have the potential for a lot of solar. I don't know whether that's utilized or not, or whether that's the case. But is the energy discussion one around, carbon emissions and things like that, or do you have a decent amount of renewable energy there where you could just use that to mine Bitcoin?
Well, great question. Really great question. I don't think anybody, any other podcast, anything I've been on has ever asked me that question.
Okay.
And the answer is actually very easy. So Namibia, as you know, you've been here, 360 days worth of sun, basically.
Yep. Yeah.
Um, and we of course have a little bit of hydro electricity that that gets generated. Not that much. We've started with desalination plants and stuff now at the coast. But I mean, we're where everybody's looking for green hydrogen. They're all
Okay.
looking Germany. Everybody's looking at Namibia as the green hydrogen capital of the world. Is what they're
Wow.
trying to make it as. So now the conversation is also more around how do we speak to the people. Firstly, to say, hey, let me give you the facts on how we're not destroying the environment by mining Bitcoin. Secondly, let me show you how we can monetize the energy that you might have trapped, or the energy that you will be your buyer of last resort, basically, and you can be your own buyer of last resort, and we'll show you how. So generally with mining, again, proof of work, I believe in it. And when people are like, yeah, you're always talking about proof of work, I'm like, your teachers asked for it all of school. If you had a math teacher, there was no, oh yeah, that's the answer. They tell you, show me your workings. Physics too, chemistry too, show me your workings. So why all of a sudden is proof of work a foreign concept to people is beyond me. But okay, I believe in proof of work, right? If I can show you that Okin can do it, Okin's not that smart. I'm just very persistent and curious, which means you can do it too, all right? So initially when I started Bitcoin mining in Namibia, I started as like a thought process. I was like, I'm here in Namibia, okay? I can get the cash together. Let me get the cash together and get miners. How can I get these miners? Okay, let's go on Amazon. Yo, all these things say made in China. I just came from China. Let's contact the people I know in China. And I'm like, I contacted the guys I bought computers and stuff from, and I was like, yo, can you get me miners? And they're like, of course I can get you miners. I'm in China, bro. Like, which ones you want? You want second hand? You want first hand? And I was like, bless. Then that was my first supplier. My second supplier came from a woman who was actually in my MBA class. And she was like, yeah, I've started my own Bitcoin mining thing. I'm like, oh yeah? Let's talk. How can you supply me with? She literally just put up a Bitcoin mine outside Luanda. Massive piece. She was there for a couple of months. So these are the people, again, if I wasn't in China, I wouldn't know how do I get this. So then I was like, okay, cool. I did my major was in logistics, right? So I'm like, all right, let's talk to the people I know throughout the logistics industry and be like, how do you get me my miners from China here in the cheapest fashion? I don't want to wait freaking months and stuff. They're talking about let's rather fly, move it by ocean. I'm like, no, 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 bro. I'm not waiting months. And then the thing was, I knew a guy that had a logistics agent. He's like, yo, we can get it for you straight. I'll talk to my guys at FedEx. They'll give us pricing. They'll go pick it up directly from the shop. They'll wrap it everything the way it's supposed to be, and then we'll bring it over. And then you just have to do the customs payments. What? So I went through the whole thing with the Bank of Namibia with customs, like so that I know this is the process to get a miner to your door, right? And then I made a company out of it, like part of a company out of it. And I was like, okay, I'll do it for anybody that wants a Bitcoin miner. Let's go.
And the average person, it's or is energy cheap enough for them to benefit from using it?
So yeah, the kicker comes, right? So now you have to do the calculations on how much is my energy bill costing? Am I using renewable energy, or am I plugging it into the wall socket? Because you can do that. So when I brought down my first three miners, now the thing was to prove, okay, if I need a loan from a bank or from an individual, I need to show them numbers. I need to show you data of me mining and how much I've earned, how much was electricity cost, all of that, right? Or variable cost and all that stuff that we've always learned in schools. So then I found out in Namibia, you don't need a step up converter and stuff like you guys do in the States, right? The 240 watts that these things need is what we get out of every socket in our walls, right? So you can just plug one in straight in. Of course, you need to talk to an electrician. Whoever's listening to this, please don't just grab a miner and just plug it in. Go talk to an electrician to come check out your house and make sure your wiring is good, and have the conversation before you even buy the miner. And anyway, so when I'm plugging in the miners, I'm running them right for like weeks now, and I'm doing it especially on days and taking a lot of the data at times when my house is at high, like people are washing clothes, doing cooking, like everything is draining. I'm running all three miners at the same time using electricity from my house, so paid electricity. So now I know this is how much I'm getting per unit. This is worked out all of that. I was like, all right, cool. This is very costly. It's very costly to run all three miners while you're paying, and our electricity is not cheap. I think it's just not cheap. Let's just put it there. So what I did was I was like, okay, let me go find out what the actual, because I do prepaid electricity. So I purchase, I put the code in, and then I've got my electricity, right? So I was like, let's go find out. Maybe it's cheaper if you're on the month to month account basis. I went to this municipality of the capital, Windhoek, and I went there, I had the conversation with the electricity department. They were like, no, 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 no. This is how much the cost. They gave me a whole sheet. I think I even have it somewhere. Some freaking massive poster looking thing with tariffs galore, my man. And I'm like, all right, cool, cool, cool. This is the section I need. The guy was really cool. Spoke about it. I'm like, all right, I'll be back in an hour. I went over to, you've been here. So Pupkovitz is a really big conglomerate of a company. It owns many different companies from car dealerships to paints to like, it's just buildings, everything. So I went to Pupkovitz Solar, right? Went to them, got, because they're the most expensive in the country right now. Went and got their quotes for what kind of solar setup I would need for this drainage that I'm now giving you the data of, because I've got the data, right? I've been running miners for like weeks now, so I know what it's pulling from me and how much it's costing me. So now we got like at least 2 months worth of data. Here you go. Gave it to them. They're like, all right, cool. We'll work out a quote for you. This is a setup you need. I told them, give me 2 setups, one with batteries, one without. Went back to the city of Windhoek. Told them, all right, cool. Do you guys allow net metering? They're like, yeah, we allow net metering. Why? What's up? I'm like, all right, cool. So then what does the setup look like for that? All right, you'd have to have a month-to-month account by the city because you can't do it on pay-as-you-go, of course. And then if you're on this list, what? Okay, they walk me through the process. I'm like, cool. This is the people I want to use, pricing. So then I was like, all right, next step. How do we get people to get financing for this, right? To get their solar panels. Then I did a little bit of research, found out the Ministry of Mines and Energy in Namibia has a thing called renewable energy financing. Okay, where they will give you financing of up to 95,000 Namibian dollars to put solar up at your house. That's a residential one, not even the business ones and farm and what. That's just for your residential. Okay, then here's the kicker: without any batteries, the solar setup needed to run my entire house like I was running it, heavily. But if it was doing that every single day, okay, with that solar setup without batteries would cost 75,000 Namibian dollars.
Mm.
So I could get this entire setup done already with 20,000 to save, right, from the bank,
Yep.
and I can pay it back over 4 years. Not from the bank, from the Ministry of Mines and Energy. Pay that loan back over 4 years, either using the Bitcoin that I'm gaining from mining, or
Yep.
my actual like job, whatever I'm doing. Right, cool. Now, we've taken care of you getting your equipment, as in solar panels and what, to get set up at your house, and your house also now you're not paying electricity on. It's also running on the same solar, right? And what you're doing effectively is making sure that the grid is stable. Because this is why I love net metering. All of the electricity that you're getting from your solar panels, you're pushing into the grid. The grid is your battery.
Yep.
And because you're pushing it all into the grid, this means you can pull out from the grid at times like 2 a.m. when there
Yep.
is no sun.
Right. Yep.
Because you just need to pull out less than what you've pushed in. So you just need to do your mathematicals and say, oh, this is the sweet spot, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
This is it.
effectively, you've got a massive battery called your city. Your
That's it.
city's like electricity grid is now your
That's
battery,
amazing.
right? So you save up a lot of costs on that already.
I'm laughing again because if I were to go down to my local office and start even beginning to have this conversation with them, they would literally have the police take me out in handcuffs for even wasting their time, just for the crime of being like, why do you think we would have time to answer this nonsense
But,
again? One of
but
the
you see, you always got to make it seem like it's got nothing to do with Bitcoin. You're just like, no,
yeah
no,
yeah
no,
yeah
look,
yeah yeah. That's
just
fair.
I'm just trying to
Yep.
know, what do you have running at your house? Servers?
Yep. Yeah.
Got some
That's
servers,
it.
bro.
Yeah. Um, I've spoken with a bunch of people in this industry. I don't think I've ever spoken with someone who has as thoroughly as you delved into so many different corners of this. Yeah, I mean it's one, you give yourself too little credit. You are a very smart individual, but I appreciate more than anything what I like about Bitcoin. What I've seen, I don't know how to put this. When I see it catalyze something in people, the curiosity, what can we do? And then you start, running the numbers. What problems can this solve? That to me is the most exciting part of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
The price starts to matter a lot less. It's what it catalyzes. It
Yeah.
creates, this spirit in people, gets them sort of riled up to start figuring out a whole bunch of stuff. And I think my ultimate vision for it would be to have it catalyze more, to have that catalyze more and more of that in human beings around the world, and think about this sort of like, I don't know, grid or interconnectedness of human
Yeah,
beings who have sort of upped their game across the world, and it hopefully, in my humble opinion, leads to a sort of new renaissance of sorts. And I
correct.
hope that, based on the power of the individual, I think a lot of people throw the words empowerment, or throw the word empowerment around a lot.
Mhm.
I think it's thrown around. I think this is empowerment in the greatest sense of the word, and it gives people sort of, hopefully, the confidence to empower themselves. To, like,
Yeah,
the sort of, they might listen to this conversation and be like, hey, I could do this as well. What sorts of,
correct.
that's all I want from it. Deep down, at
Exactly.
the end of the day, and I think that's what gets me most excited about all this. So I will leave it there as far as the conversation here for the podcast. But I'm truly inspired. Yeah, I'm absolutely inspired by what you've done. I will share this as widely as possible. Not, it's funny because it's like, not even from a promotional standpoint of like, oh, I want people to listen to my podcast. I started this. It's weird. I don't have, I come from, I was a college lecturer before getting into all this stuff, and a lot of people, including people at that college, were like, "Oh, wait, you're going to spend your time full time on this now?" And it's just like, "Yeah, this
Yeah,
is what I'm going to do." And I think a lot of people can't see it because they're stuck in a traditional way of thinking about money. But then the bigger issue is that nobody really thinks about money. Nobody even really has that thought. And so this isn't going back to the foundation. This isn't going back to like, how do we redistribute money? What's fair? It's like, no, we're going back
yep.
to the nature of
The
money. And I
nature
think
of
that,
money. Yeah,
yeah, and now, and what does that bring us back to? Like you said, a barter system, two people transacting peer to peer in real life and online. Um, I don't know. I don't. I guess I don't see how people don't see that as endlessly exciting. Like that we have this new paradigm being built, and just because right now the price is kind of boring in fiat terms, most people have lost interest. It just blows my mind. But it is what it is, and I think that I have to thank you, because I think one of the things that when I stopped teaching, I mostly worked with immigrants in New York City, teaching them English and the sort of
okay.
academic skills they would need to get by in school. I actually met Patrick at Teachers College. We went to graduate school together. So I
All
was
right,
studying to
cool.
be a language teacher. Yeah. Much like yourself, I heard him talk once, and I was like, "I'm gonna go be friends with this guy real quick. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go have a conversation." But what I think people need to hear with this stuff is not the speculation, not even the details of the mechanics of how it works. That stuff is all fine. It's all part of it.
Yeah,
But what they need to hear is the hope it brings to people, the sort of optimism, what it catalyzes within people, the human stories that surround it. And I think you are a perfect example of that. So thank you very much for taking the time to do this. It really is.
bless your soul.
It's been an absolute pleasure. So I'm going to cut it here. Thank you guys for listening. Please actually tell the listeners where they could find you on socials, about your website, all that stuff.
Mhm. All right, awesome. Again, thank you for having me. This was
My
amazing. We didn't
pleasure.
even get to the music stuff really.
Yeah. We
um,
could talk about that
but
afterwards.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We can always talk about that continuously.
Yep.
But yeah, for me, I think this was just a great conversation. As you said, people being able to see Bitcoin isn't about the price. It's about literally what use cases, what does it solve for you, what are the
Yep.
solutions, like, and it solves a lot of things for me, as I've said. So people can yeah, reach out to me as Okin. It says it down there somewhere. OKIN. That's OKIN, standing for Ordinary Kids Instilling Notoriety. So that's Okin underscore 17. That's on Instagram, uh, uh, Twitter. You can find me at EasySats underscore at Twitter. And then on Instagram is just at EasySats. Yeah, I'm always around on the socials, speaking
Yep.
about Bitcoin, doing some other crazy things.
He's good. He's
My
good with
website,
memes too. Yeah, good with gifts and
I
memes
mean,
too.
I
You're
mean, you
very
gotta convey the
sharp.
messages, you know. So sometimes you don't gotta type everything. I'd be like, this meme will say it. And then my website is okenent.com. If you do still want to listen to my podcast, I still have, think, I have 2 or 3 seasons up. That's hashtag from the jump. That's
Yep.
hashtag from the jump. You'll find that not on Spotify, but you'll find it on almost anything else, including Fountain app. And you will find it even on your Alexa. I think it's still, if you say Alexa, play hashtag from the jump, I think it will still come up.
Oh,
So yeah, enjoy. It's a bit of a journey. There's a lot of swearing. We don't hold back on that one.
I love it. I
So
love it.
yeah, this was great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Frank.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'll leave it there.